Good morning, everyone. Coming to you from brisk November 3rd morning here in upstate New York. I got one for you today. This is going to be asking the question, are people more on edge while driving nowadays than they used to be? So my perspective is only about 10 years, 11 years of driving. 27, well into being 27. I turned 16 well, about 12 years ago. So anyway, back then, back in my day, I mean, there's been crazy drivers since the horse and buggy, right? So that's not something an argument I'm trying to make here. But the question then becomes, people got noticeably worse. And I think my answer to that question would actually probably be yes. But I think people got noticeably worse at toward later 2020 until just present day. Maybe they've gotten a little better again, I'm not sure. But the reason I say this is because I don't know. I think COVID has had something to do with people's ability to drive. Not the disease itself, but the event, if you will. The reason I say that is because, alright, so this is a big one. This is a big one for me. I have seen more people just blatantly pull out in front of somebody. And then, which is one thing, right? But then, when you get on the roadway, just dilly-dally, poke around, and they're sitting ducks in the middle of the road, and the person behind them has to slam on their brakes, change lanes, whatever the situation. And I'm just like, dude, if you're gonna pull out in front of somebody, move. You gotta go. Especially if it's like a truck and trailer. I don't mind it, a little bit of an aggressive move. I'm not the kind of person to get offended by that. But get on the freaking accelerator, It's like every modern car. And when I say modern, I mean 10 to 15 years old or newer, which is basically 99% of cars on the road, have pretty good acceleration power. 0 to 60 in 8 to 10 seconds, which is perfectly good enough where if you floor it, you will get up to a reasonable speed if you pull out in front of somebody pretty darn quickly. So it's there's really not much of an excuse to just becoming a freaking rolling road hazard. Because that's what winds up happening. You literally wind up becoming a hazard to yourself and those around you because you're forcing traffic behind you to do everything in their power to avoid you. And it didn't need to happen. You could have waited to pull out, or you could have gotten on the freaking gas pedal, when you did pull out. And that's one thing. The other thing is, I was driving home from Vermont the other day in my truck, towing my camper, not on the bike. And I witnessed 4 legitimately stupid moves, really pretty darn stupid moves. So, there were 2 lane changes, just completely unnecessary lane changes. And listen, guys, I've made some, aggressive lane changes just on this channel alone, on the motorcycle especially. So I'm not putting myself on a pedestal here, but when you're in a freaking 1-ton pickup and your rear bumper is practically scraping the hood of the car in front of you on an aggressive lane change, it's a different scale, okay? It's a different order of magnitude. So, come on, people. And then another one that I saw, which, again, I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, I made this mistake too. The person started missing their exit, and rather than just going by the exit and finding another way to get to where they were going, they really forced themselves in on the exit ramp, through the median, little triangular part where they paint off where you shouldn't enter, it's so late. And I mean, it wasn't super dangerous because I think the car behind him kind of knew what was going on and backed off a little bit. But it was an aggressive move, a very aggressive move. And, and it was at high speed too. That's the other thing. These aren't backed up highways like in New York City or something. Anything that people are doing is happening at 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. If you have a really backed up, congested highway and you're making aggressive moves, that's one thing, right? You're going to get into a fender bender, worst case. But when you're going freaking 70 plus, I mean, it's not a fender bender anymore. That's a freaking car bender, a crumpler, a fender crumpler. car crumpler. Anyway, so it's just it's like something people got to think about a little bit and just like decide if they want to be alive or not, because that's how you unalive yourself pretty darn quickly, is making moves like that on the road. And I think part of it is so the reason I say post COVID, or I shouldn't say post, mid to post, is because a couple things, right? A whole lot of people didn't drive much, or frankly at all, other than maybe to the grocery store, for like at least a year, maybe longer. I mean, there are companies that have just barely sent their workers back to the office. So like, think about that, right? Just barely sent their workers back to the office. Then there's also companies who never sent their employees back, so they're fully remote. Well, as with any skill, right, and driving, of course, is a skill. Probably one of the, frankly, to do right, one of the harder skills people have to learn in their daily lives. I don't know if I'm stopping or not. I really don't want to stop for this bus. I get so scared to freaking... Yeah, I'm going. Sorry, guys. I just get, it's not that I don't want to stop for a school bus. I get really nervous somebody's running the back of me. It's nothing to do with my time or trying to be a jerk to the freaking kids and everything else. I don't want a motorcycle. I want to get freaking absolutely rammed in the back and somebody's not paying attention. There's a big gap between us and cars behind us. But anywho, oh, I lost my train of thought, guys. That's not good. The bus made me lose my train of thought. Blaming the kids. I'm blaming the kids. Oh yeah. So people either weren't driving because they were temporarily remote, or they became permanently remote. So this is commuting time, so it's probably less true. But just in your daily life, right? You're encountering people who went from driving 10,000 miles a year, 15,000 miles a year, to driving like 2. And that absolutely has to have an effect on your driving performance, right? I mean, like, the more you drive, within reason, the more you drive, you're going to get better at it. It's with any skill. Now, and then it's an exponential, it's a logarithmic curve, right? Like, you're not going to get after driving, say, 10,000 miles in a year, that extra 5 isn't going to make you 50% better, right? It's going to make you maybe 5% better, but it's something. So if you go from 15,000 to 2,000, I mean, you might lose some skill. How much do you retain? And just like some common sense about driving and the more nitty-gritty technique for busier roads. And I just often wonder, like, what could you do to keep people practiced on driving, even if they're not driving so much? And then, hey, maybe you could argue that's a perfect time for automated cars to come into play, but there hasn't been a lot of talk on that lately. So I don't know what the status is, but yeah. So as far as driving is concerned, that's kind of my assumption as to why people have gotten what I feel like is noticeably worse. Because I've been putting pretty big miles on. I probably put 35,000 miles a year on riding and driving on the road every year. Yeah, probably at least that much. And then I'm in a car for, some amount more than that, just if I'm going somewhere with a friend and whatnot. So I see a lot of stuff on the road, and I drive a lot of different states and different types of roads. So, and that's been pretty much true for the last 4, 5, 6 years. So I think I have a pretty balanced perspective in that sense. I don't know. I think so. And as a result, I think I can honestly fairly judge that things have gotten a little worse. And as a motorcyclist, I don't really love to say that or love to think that, because I know I'm potentially putting myself at more risk than I used to be riding a motorcycle. And the other thing we got to consider here is, and I don't know if this is the case or not, but typically, as population grows, as time goes on, your car density goes up. There's more and more people driving cars. I assume that's probably the case. That was a nice one. But you gotta assume that the population of people driving goes up, right? So then you get more and more traffic, which just inevitably gives you more and more ability to have potential traffic incidents. Yeah, so I don't know. And then hey, who am I to talk, right? I'm being a degenerate right now, wheeling my motorcycle in the middle of freaking Route 7. So, you know, I'm not putting myself on a pedestal. Like I said, I'm just commenting that people have gotten a little worse at driving. I think that's what's happened. I think we need to, you gotta watch out as motorcyclists and probably not do dumb stuff like wheeling your motorcycle on Route 7, because you're putting yourself at added risk of some jerk turning out in front of you while your front tire's not even touching the ground. So, you know, take it, do it as my father used to say, do as I say, not as I do, because he would tell us the right things to do, and being an imperfect human being didn't always follow them. Anyway, guys, on those notes, stay safe out there. Try not to be an idiot like me. And I'll catch you on the next one. God bless America. See you later. Goodbye. I totally screwed up my outro. I'm not fixing it.